Really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
That's why it's really important to have a plan. Have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this DJ?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is impermanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, we are live. This is the DGen Roundtable, and we're covering a very, very special episode for you guys today. We have the normal, usual crew, and we have some different, crazy mystery guests. Joining us today, we've got a mystery guest number one right down here, who I will introduce in just a moment. But we also have the usual, the usual suspects over here. We got Nate McGettit, we got Brendan, we've got Zenith, we've got Jeff Hex, blah, blah, blah. And today we're going to be talking about a little bit of the same stuff that we were speaking on over last Sunday, for those of you guys who caught that stream as well. For the folks at home who might not know who this mystery guest is, Mr. Mystery Guest, would you please introduce yourself and tell the folks at home a little bit what you do over here on the DGen Roundtable?
How's it going, everybody? I'm Dace Northal. You haven't seen me on YouTube in quite a while, but I am always very active in the Telegram group. If you take a look right here on your screen, you've got a QR code. Hop into Telegram, come hop into our chats on Tuesdays. I host a call every Tuesday with Agent Jay, who you've seen on stream quite a bit. Me and him give you weekly market updates, news updates. We give you some TA, and we also have some participation to where you can log in, bring your voice in as well, and ask questions, weigh in on your opinions. Just a place where you can stay up to current in the market with us. So thank you guys for having me on tonight. It's good to be on this side of things with y'all.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks for joining us, broski. And the rest of the panel, let's go ahead and introduce you guys. We're going to start off with Mr. Apex Hex, because he's also not very often on the streams with us. Mr. Apex Hex, what is new and exciting with you? And can you give the folks at home a little bit of an introduction so that way they know who you are and what you do as a part of the DGen Roundtable? By the way, for the folks at home, these guys are all DGen Roundtable members. We've all been here since the very beginning. We are all part of the excellent DRT family. So, Mr. Apex Hex, can you give the folks a quick introduction and tell us what is new and exciting with you, my friend?
Oh, man. As far as exciting, I guess just watching Richard buy up coins. But besides that, just same old stuff, just doing normal everyday work. Then after that, researching the whole crypto atmosphere. And besides that, yeah, the only thing I've really been looking at lately is Pulse Chain. I kind of don't really dabble with Cardano or anything anymore, to tell you the truth. So same old stuff, really. Just been diving into the OASAC wallets and stuff like that. Farming Hex, good old stuff like that.
Hell yeah, broski. I feel you a lot on that. Pulse Chain is basically the only thing that I watch now. I've given up on looking at Ethereum stuff, Cardano stuff, Polkadot, Illuvium, all the fucking shit that's not Pulse Chain. I don't even bother looking at it, because that's just not my jam. But enough about me. Let's hear from Mr. Nate McGettit. Mr. Nate, broski, what is new and exciting with you, my friend? It's been a long time since last we've seen you. It's been what, like 3 days, 2 days? What's up, bro?
Yeah, it's usually the whole deal. And to say, you know, I'm also looking at Phantom as well as Pulse Chain and Base. I'm thinking Base is really going to explode in this cycle, so I'm really looking at what's over there. It might be that Solana. Maybe the Solana season is all over. I don't know, perhaps. But with that being said, yeah, no, there's really not too much new going on with me. It's just I was taking a look at a few things that possibly, the OH or the OA wallet is doing, and it seems like there's a lot of interesting things because Jeff really sparked a lot of interest over here, and so I started looking around, and I found some stuff, but it does get a little bit into the P die side. So I know Fast Abdul is going to crucify me for this, but I don't know. There's some interesting stuff going on there, and you kind of have to be smart enough to be able to see it. So I don't know there, Fast Abdul. Anyways, he'll get that one. That's an
We'll
inside
figure it
joke.
Excellent. Well, it's good to see you, Nate, again, and it's good to hear from you. Up next, we've got Mr. Brendan telling us not to fade Richard. Mr. Brendan, what's new and exciting with you, my friend?
What's up, everybody? Welcome to be back. Apologize, my voice is not 100%. Had the whole vid for like a week, and I was out of work for a few days. But I am came out on the other side of it, as most people do, and I'm excited for tonight. I'm excited to start streaming regularly again, and really excited about where we are. I just want to remind people that in every bull market, in every time that someone held a coin from a 5x, a 10x, a 100x, a 1000x, there were always times when it felt like they wanted to sell. There was always times when it felt like it was never going to see a green candle. And we're in one of those times right now, and that's okay. If you believe in a project, if you believe in what you're investing in, then continue to buy these dips if you have extra cash, if you have extra fiat, if you have extra dry powder. And if you don't believe in it, then maybe you do need to move on to something else. Or at least just shut your computer down, put it in a wallet, and come back in 6 months. But my point is, we're going to have ups and downs, even in a bull market, especially when alts haven't really taken off yet. A lot of alts are still down 90%, and Richard Heart ecosystem is no different in that sense. But that just means that I've gotten a longer time to be able to buy dips that I didn't expect to buy at these prices, and that is exciting. Not just Richard Heart ecosystem, but I'm also looking at some other coins, some AI plays, and a little bit of everything. And I like that Nate. I like based Nate on base. That's nice. Maybe we need to start a coin, based Nate.
Base Nate, I love it.
But yeah, man, just happy to be here and still excited for the Celtics championship. Congrats to my Florida brethren. I'm not happy that the Panthers won, but I'm happy that you guys are happy that they won the hockey national championship, Stanley Cup. And so we got a lot to talk about tonight. Zenith, buddy, how you doing?
I am doing well. Very excited for the show. It's going to be a little bit of a part 2 for everybody that caught the Sunday show where we had Jeff hop on and we chatted about doing some OA analysis, talking about the Richard Heart ecosystem, and then we also covered a few news articles as well. So really looking forward to this. Looking forward to having Dace on YouTube instead of Telegram. I know we're going to talk about what he's up to on the Telegram calls and try to give a bit of a teaser on that here so we can get more people into the Telegram, by the way, which scan the QR code. That's how you find it. That's what I got. Jeff, what's going on with you, brother?
Ooh, we're throwing it back to Jeff. Hell yeah.
I get 2 intros.
Oh, shoot, my bad.
You get 2 intros.
We'll just toss it back over to Will.
Wait a minute. I'm gonna toss it back to Jeff. Jeff, I want to hear what you got cooked up for the second intro. You're on the spot, buddy.
It's so much I can't even put into words.
Oh, dude, that's what I like to hear. Hey, speaking of words, as a matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, sucks and squirrels, it's time for motherfucking chat shoutouts. You heard it here first. We talk to the folks at home. We read your chats. We see what's going on. So, Mrs. Producer, I'm clicking on over to that starred section you got pulled up for me. And it looks like Mr. Fast Abdul is going to be our first candidate of the day. And he says, is it the guy who says, you can do it from Waterboy? I believe that's Rob Schneider or something like that. I'm not sure what he's referring to.
It's not Rob. It's the old it's like the hillbilly dude.
Oh, because our title, like the title of our video is something like who's the mystery guest or something, something special or something like that. So that's what Fast Abdul is doing. I'm guessing that he's guessing who our magical guest is going to be. And it's this guy, as well as Apex Hex over there, the guys you don't normally see on the DGen Roundtable. So these guys are our mystery guests. You guys get to hang out with us on YouTube. We're super stoked and happy to see you. All right, Mrs. Producer, up next, we've got Mr. Kenturian54X. What is up, DGens? What's up to you too? Good, sir. Glad to hear that you're joining us today. I'm envisioning you probably throwing hay or driving your Cessna, or I guess piloting your Cessna, or like rolling around on a tractor somewhere, doing some of that good old farmer shit. Kick ass, bro. Always glad to have you in. Up next, we've got Mr. Agent J of the DGen Roundtable. Who's that Pokemon? This Pokemon today is going to be Dace Northal and Mr. Apex Hex. You guys are seeing it here first. These are our magical mystery guests. Excelente. Next up, we got Tam Tam. What's up, fam? What is up, Tam Tam? Our #1 cheerleader in not only the DGen Roundtable space and the Pulse Chain hit space, but just pretty much the whole crypto space. Tam Tam is doing nothing but pushing out positivity and excellence. So shout out to Tam Tam. Good to have you here. Excellent and all that good stuff. Next up, we've got DGen Roundtable. Wow, look at this. We are breaking the third wall, shouting out our very own producer, saying, oh my God, it's Dace. He's alive. Why isn't he shirtless, though? For the folks at home who don't know what's going on here, there was a very long-running joke, and I don't know where this came from, but shirtless Dace for president 2024 was a long-time campaign slogan in the early days of the DGen Roundtable. And as a matter of fact, I haven't heard or seen those pictures rolling around anytime soon. So perhaps those will resurface in the Telegram. Perhaps not. We will see.
Maybe we'll make an NFT out of it. Whole
I'm
NFT
not
collection.
I'm not promising anything, and I'm not setting up expectations, but I will say that there's some good meme value in there. And then finally, we've got Mr. Brown, Farmer J. I don't know why I always get your name confused, bro. Mr. Farmer J. Huh. Well, right back to you, bro. It's good to see you. Good to have you. All right, and for the rest of the folks in the chat that we have not shouted out who are still in here, we are glad that you have come to join us today, and we are super stoked. Oh, it looks like we got Brendan, Fast Abdul again. We've got all sorts of people. All right, sweet. So I'm going to give a quick little scroll over to this private chat, and nothing crazy important in there, at least for now. Gentlemen, today's stream, we're going to be talking about some of the stuff that that Mr. Dace Northal and Mr. Apex Hex have been cooking up. We gave you guys, the folks at home, a little bit of a preview over on Sunday where we're talking about the Richard Hart wallet and some of the, I shouldn't say Richard Hart wallet, the Origin address wallet and some of its activities. Mr. Dace Northal, I'm going to kick it to you first, bro, since we had Jeff talking over the weekend, and then I'm going to ask you what's some of the condensed thoughts that we can break into earlier. Let's get a summary of your notes, sort of say. And I'm going to actually be typing while you're doing this, so I can ask you pointed questions. So go right ahead.
Please. The more pointed, the better. So, condensed thoughts would be the Origin, a wallet linked to the Sacrifice wallets has been purchasing PulseX on the market exclusively in this round of purchasing from this wallet. This wallet has executed purchases in the past of various of the Pulse Chain ecosystem core coins. This round of purchasing has been exclusively PulseX. I think that's significant, namely because PulseX is the only deflationary token in the ecosystem.
Yes. Can I do a quick pause here for a second? There's two wallets that are very important in the Pulse Chain ecosystem. One being the Origin address, the other being the Sacrifice wallet. And we are talking about the Origin address wallet, right? Which is the wallet that owns pretty much all of the Hex, like not all of the Hex supply, but like 90-something% of the Hex supply. That's the one you're referring to, correct?
It's actually neither of those wallets directly.
Oh, okay.
So this wallet received funds.
It's an affiliate.
Exactly.
Okay.
It was linked, what they say linked to, and actually not the OA, but the Sacrifice address is actually where it came from, to be specific.
Affiliate Sacrifice wallet. Got it.
Yes, that's a good clarification though. But anyway, yeah, we've observed it buying PulseX up, and me and Apex have been speaking a lot about what are maybe his potential motivations. You know, like I said, we've seen him purchase other coins in the past. Why PulseX this time? That's something that is of interest to both me and Apex. But that is the main talking point in my mind right now. We've got some other interesting wallet movements that have happened that are a little more tied to things like liquidity pools and tied to also there's interesting details about how it's dispersed its buys. Just very quickly, a few weeks back, Richard said via Twitter that a smart whale would spread out its buys across 3 different stable platforms and also some into Ethereum. The 3 stable platforms being imported Ethereum USDC, Ethereum USDT, and Ethereum DAI. And now, a couple of weeks later after that tweet, we're seeing him execute that same strategy. And that strategy, the purpose of spreading those buys out is to minimize price impact on the charts. So the way in which he's buying is also congruent with the way in which he talked about buying on Twitter. In the way that he talked about buying on Twitter, the purpose was for a big whale to be able to accumulate as much as possible while moving the price as little as possible. All of those details can be a little confusing at first until you really put yourself in the mindset of, okay, what if I owned a significant portion of the supply of a given token? How would what actions would I take that would put my token in the best position to perform? And so that's some of what we want to unpack this evening, not to get too ahead of ourselves. Apex, do you have any other details you want to add to what we've covered so far?
No, we'll go over the wallet. Like right now, I'm browsing at it, and it looks like just we said Sunday he's been farming a lot on Pulse Chain Network, and right here on Base, it looks like 15 hours ago you see 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, like all these $10,000 swaps in the coins where he's executing the swap, and it looks like he picked up another $50,000 from just yield farming on Base.
Okay, that's interesting. So from Base, do you happen to know where he's yield farming on Base? Like what?
It doesn't say. Let me look. Maybe if I scroll back enough, I can see some kind of decks where it gives permission. But no, if he did, that'd be way long ago. But I did see him grant some applications on like 9mm and 9-inch and stuff like that.
They wouldn't happen to have MakerDAO on Base, would they? Because that's an Ethereum. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do, and that's Ethereum, and then Spark DAO. Do they have that on Base?
I don't see it. They might.
You'd have to go all the way back to the LP when he.
Yeah,
you'd have to go through a ton of transactions to find that.
I got an interesting suspicion about that because it's just a layer 2 on Ethereum, and I know that these dexes are on, or leverage platforms are on Ethereum. So I wonder if he's trying to save on gas fees in Ethereum by going to Base instead. And I'm pretty sure these are on Base as well. We can talk about that later, but interesting.
I think the main reason he's doing it, and I might be wrong, I think Base, since it's newer than Ethereum, it probably has higher APY. So I think that's why he's doing it. Same reason why I think, well, not just the reason, I was going to say same reason he's doing it on like 9 inches, because their APY is probably higher than PulseX, but that's one of the reasons. I also think he's trying to steal their liquidity and put it on his own DEX also, which is really smart.
So now there's something in here for the folks at home to consider. This type of buying is separate from a different type of buying we've seen the wallets associated with the Sacrifice wallet do in the past, where they bought a bunch and it pumped the price. This time they're buying a bunch with the perceived intention to not pump the price, or something to that extent. Like the actions that they're taking is not pumping the price. Therefore, we can assume that they are not intending to pump the price with all of this buy pressure. Whereas before, they were doing it differently in larger chunks and making, like, printing, big green candles and things like that. Is that assessment correct?
It is correct, and it's intentional. Like kind of how Dace alluded. Richard, there's a clip of him saying, smart whale, if they were trying to accumulate, not commit price appreciation, but to accumulate in preparation for a price appreciation event, they would spread out the buys through different pools so they didn't get arbed, and they would be able to accumulate more. So that's why you're seeing like 7 to 10 grand in wrapped ETH, then DAI, then other stables, so he could accumulate on.
That makes sense.
Excellent. It also seems like he wanted to kind of keep that PulseX price from the bottom a little bit. So PulseX definitely performed a little better compared to the other coins after those buys. And of course, as we'll get into, I'm not going to spill any beans, but there were some other interesting buys from that wallet as well. But definitely, it seems like he wanted to bring that PulseX price off the floor a little bit, and that certainly happened.
Yep. And for the folks at home, this is all inference, right? We obviously don't have any sort of insider information. None of this is financial advice. These are just like, this is like when you see things happening a certain number of times, it's fairly safe to make a presumption that or the other thing is the reason. We're all throwing spaghetti at the wall here and telling campfire stories. We don't know actually what's going on. This is just like, these are the logical explanations that we are coming to for all of this action and stuff. So I wanted to make that super clear for the folks at home. Gentlemen, I'm working on coming up with a question. Do you have a next talking point to hop into, or continue the conversation?
I think it would be awesome if we let people know a little bit more about this Dace Northal mystery guest over here. Kind of like who he is, maybe how you got into the DGen Roundtable.
That's a good little transition there, Nate. I like that. Dace, what? Nate's question. Take Nate's question. I was gonna try and make it a little bit more verbose, but you said it well, Nate.
Yeah, no problem. It started with myself and Agent J. That's how I really started getting into, I guess, a deeper analysis of crypto. So about back up even further, I've been in crypto since the first go round, since a bit before the first go round with Robinhood and GameStop during the 2020 to 2021 run. My first purchases in crypto were in the 2017 and 18 cycle. I just wasn't quite as into it. I was trying to kind of be a jack of all trades and master of none for a little while. I still dabbled heavily in stocks, and I kind of took quick profits. I wasn't a long-term holder. I didn't know how to I didn't know how to hold my own keys or my own coins. But I still speculated on it. And so my head's been in it for a bit. Fast forward to 2021, I came across a couple of YouTubers, Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto, and I joined their course. And in their course, I met a few people, which is namely most of you guys. I reached out with Jeff, to Jay. I believe me and Jay were one of the first couple of people that decided that we wanted to go ahead and put a call together. That we called a bunch of our buddies in the course and said, hey, let's cover sort of this active news event, sort of among ourselves, rather than in the greater group chat that we met each other in. We just founded another smaller group. That group ended up growing and taking off and becoming what you guys know today as the DGen Roundtable. And so, I think we've been around for what's a year now, right, Zenith? I think I saw you celebrating on all of our behalf.
Yeah, I've done that on multiple occasions. We did hit 1,000 subscribers earlier in the year. That was super exciting considering we started out the year at like 300. And then, it was not, or was it last week? I think it was last week. We did our 1 year anniversary.
Very
Fun
cool
stuff.
So I often, you'll have to forgive me, Brendan, my voice is also trying to go too. Most of my Wednesdays and Sundays are taken up with work. I'm an audio engineer and a musician and an entrepreneur. And so I try to juggle all this stuff at once. I was happy to be able to get on this evening. And, I honestly, a big motivator for me in terms of participation and even the founding of this thing is, I think that keeping people together that are of like minds and that are interested in staying involved and engaged in the market is the bedrock of what we do at DGen Roundtable, whether it's the Telegram calls or you guys here. The purpose is for community, and it's also for it, to stay on top of the markets, to stay involved, and to keep engaged and not have it go on autopilot. I remember when I first started in 2017, 2018, my perceptions, my absorption of information, and my growth of knowledge sort of hit a stalemate, or it hit a standstill. And I was really happy, and have truly still to this day enjoyed being a part of the Telegram group, and getting on here with you guys, especially as a treat to keep involved and keep your knowledge growing as much as you can. And so that's a little bit more about me for those that don't know. And I do, like I said, I host a call with Agent J still in our Telegram, just like when we started. It's there every Tuesday. And so I would love to have you guys in there if you're so inclined. It's free for now.
Yeah, actually, you guys had one just earlier. I think it was Tam who was asking for just some TA on the the RH coins, because she wanted to make a DCA into one of them, but she wanted to know what was the best price currently. And Jay literally hopped right on and just went right through it. So no, it's absolutely amazing. And for everybody out there, you got to know that this guy down here, our Mr. Mystery special guest, is actually the Lord of the Telegram because he actually owns it.
I did help found it. It's true. It's true. All you guys are admins though, so you got to look out for all of us.
All right.
All right. With that being said, oh, you got this, Will?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and transition us into a separate topic of conversation using my famous strategy of ChatGPT to simplify notes that other people send me that I don't understand. So we've covered the Richard Hart's farming strategy. We've covered the smart whale strategy. Next up, there is a speculation about the movements of the origin address and the SEC response. Mr. Dace or Mr. Jeff, can you guys speak a little bit about what this case that is currently going on with Mr. Ricardo Corazon, as well as and like the correlation that might have to the origin address and its activities and things?
Dace, you want to take it?
I just spoke, brother. Have at it. Have at it.
So are you trying to ask, like, as far as the case goes, do I think that has anything to do with him buying up and price appreciation currently, or?
I'm asking you to kind of to give it a quick little breakdown for the folks at home who don't know anything about this. For like, there's probably people who are going to be watching this on either the live or the replay who have not heard anything about either of these two things. So if you could give a brief little explanation for the people who are lost, and then kind of launch into what you interpret like all of this to mean and everything from there, that would be fantastic.
Well, sure. Well, yeah, for those who don't know, you got the SEC case coming after Richard and Hex and Pulse Chain. So I guess some bullish news about that is, I mean, Pulse Chain is literally a copy and a modified copy of Ethereum, and with Ethereum just being classified as a commodity, that greatly strengthens his case. And Richard has 11 lawyers. Two of them used to be lawyers for the SEC. One of them was the head, I think, of their law division, and I think he was based out of Texas. And another one of the 11, like in 2023 last year, was voted like number one attorney like in the country. So he's got a very, very nice legal team together. So up next, I think, is July 8th, where Richard and his lawyers filed to get the case dismissed, to get it dropped. And the SEC has until the 8th, I believe, to make their decision. So we're kind of some people have speculated, along with myself in here, that possibly that's why RH could be doing some of these cheap PulseX buys to try to keep the price low and accumulate while he can on the cheap if he's trying to buy it from the whales. Because if his lawyers did possibly give him some bullish news, it could be his last chance to buy up some of these coins on the cheap. Because if we did get some kind of announcement from the SEC dropping the case, I mean, regardless, the price is going to pump, or at least it should.
So, and Jeff, let me ask you a question about that. So obviously the SEC has until July 8th to respond to Richard Hart's lawyers, their first motion. And then after that, I think Richard Hart's lawyers have sometime until August, I forget the date exactly, to reply to that. And the judge can throw out the case in October. So do you potentially see any way that the SEC would drop this case before it gets to the point where a judge has to make a decision to throw it out or to hear it?
I mean, I guess they could, and especially like, yeah, Mark Cuban come out and say like Gary Gensler is going to cost Biden the election. So, I mean, for some weird reason, if Biden's like, hey, cut this shit out, then I mean, they could possibly drop it. But like the SEC, being, with the government, they're not going to have to pay back any lawyer fees and shit like that. That me and Zenith were kind of talking about that Sunday. So could they drop it? Sure. I think what's more likely than them dropping it on the 8th is maybe the judge dismissing it. But yeah, it's definitely possible. But I think it goes till October, and we hear oral arguments. But I don't know. I mean, it would be fantastic if it did get dropped.
Does the judge even have the opportunity to dismiss it in July? I don't think so. I don't think that's how it works. So
I think he can dismiss it whenever he wants, honestly. But I might be completely wrong. Zenith, you kind of touched on this. Do you know?
I'm trying to figure out who is the. I need more information on who the judge is and trying to look at their judicial record and see if there's any trends going on with what they have. But right now, I mean, there's a few possible options. First is everything proceeds as planned. That means we stay on the schedule. We go through July 8th. We have the SEC response to Richard Hart due. And then after that, I think it's August sometime. I think it's 45 days later. We have the response to the SEC's response. And then after that, we go to final showdown in October 24th. What could happen is that the SEC could choose to just drop the case, think it's no longer worth pursuing going forward. I think that's extremely unlikely, given that the SEC is trying to rule through the court system as opposed to writing legislation in response to queries from the actual like corporations and all the entities trying to, create securities. Option number 2 is the judge dismisses it. Again, we're going to have to look more into the judge on that one to get an actual estimate of what's the likelihood of it. And that's really the three scenarios. So either we go through with it, the SEC drops it, or the judge dismisses it. And based on everything right now, I think the odds-on favorite is we go to showdown in October.
Yeah, and that's when we're doing our little meetup, right?
Yes. Yes,
It seems to certainly be a possibility. Now, keep in mind, we said October 24th, right? Now, the court could change that date. It's never 100% set in stone. Now, if enough people are going to be attending the case, there's two things. First, it could be moved to a larger courtroom, which seems very likely. And second of all, if that's going to happen, then there's less likelihood that they're going to move the case because they know people are making plans to at least be there to participate. I think it would be great, obviously get a bunch of people there to back Richard Hart. We can't talk. We can't do anything. We can't even have our cell phones on us in the courtroom to watch. But nonetheless, it would be a good time to meet up. It would be a good time to have a little bit of fun in New York. And, just as a Pulse Chain community, Richard Hart community in general, Hex Pulse Chain, etc. The community has been strong. Yes, there's been some infighting. Yes, there's been anytime you see red candles, stuff happens. If you watch Twitter enough, you'll see it still happening. But really, when it comes down to it, it's a tight-knit community, a lot of people that really care. And think about how many people are still just here, ready, waiting, buying, DCAing. Community is large, and it's growing. And I'm excited about that. So the Richard Hart case is going to be huge. I do think there's a very, very good chance that the judge does dismiss it. In October. I don't know what the time frame is. He has X amount of time to make that decision after that in-person hearing. But look, everything is lining up really well for this case. We said it in the beginning. First of all, like Jeff said, just an absolute all-star lineup of lawyers, hands down some of the best in the entire world to this type of law. And there's nobody better suited to fight for Richard Hart, and not only fight for Richard Hart, but fight for freedom, fight for what is right, because the SEC is continuing to overstep their bounds and what they were set up to do as a government agency. And we continue to see this. We continue to see them take L after L, loss after loss in court, especially in big crypto cases. And I think this is going to be another one. And that gives me excitement. And look, Richard Hart's tweeting, right? He isn't able to stream. There are some things I don't think he's able to do because of this court case that's going on. But he's not afraid to buy some coins. He's not afraid to scrape some PulseX off the floor. He's not afraid to DCA, months ago again. So that's also a sign to me that he thinks and his lawyers think that this is going to be an easy win for them. Now, again, we're not lawyers. We're not experts. We're just giving our entertainment opinion here. But I think it's a very, very good sign that Richard Hart is still active on Twitter and still active scraping some coins off the floor here. So
on the subject of Richard Hart and all of his lawyers and things, Zenith, I see that you have Richard's motion to dismiss pulled up in recent history. I'd like to touch up on that and dive into it a little bit. Richard Hart he's put through the motion to dismiss. We don't know what's going on with it. Can you give the folks at home who don't know anything about it a little bit of a brief overview of Richard's motion and what it means?
Sure thing. So Richard I guess we'll start at the beginning. So the SEC, July 31st, 2023, they were the ones that initially sued Richard Hart, and their main complaint is that he was promoting Hex in 2018. He took some customer assets during the Pulse and PulseX sacrifice, and that some of that was used for personal purposes, and then also the launching of an unregistered security effectively. So since then, he put together his legal team, and they did release a response, which I believe came out. Let me get the date on this. I have it pulled up right now. I'm pretty sure it was April 4th is what I want to say. But the point is this, is that Richard Hart's response really alleges 5 different things. First is that there is lack of jurisdiction for the SEC to go after him and 3 different blockchain entities who they are just claiming as Richard's alter ego. Technically, Richard is a U.S. citizen as far as I can find, but he does not live in the United States. And then second, there is an absence of domestic securities transaction, which is that it's pretty much the SEC saying like, this is unregistered securities activity, but then Richard saying, no, it's not. Here's why. After that, they have failure to actually specify anything in particular. This is specifically when it comes to some of the, or I guess to summarize it, it's kind of just like embezzlement. One of the allegations is that he took money and used it to purchase the Black Beauty diamond, the 555 carat diamond. The Enigma. Thank you. I totally jacked that one up.
That's all good.
Yep. And then number 4 is there's no investment contracts, which is that, again, it goes back to securities law, which is they're trying to kind of allege that he's selling unregistered securities. And then lastly is First Amendment infringement. This is the issue where Richard Hart is trying to say that blockchain technology or the ability to publish your code or your data on a blockchain publicly and freely is a First Amendment right, and trying to sue someone over doing that is a First Amendment violation.
Yes.
Yes. What was the first thing that was sent with Bitcoin, right? As a message. And so you can share speech through the blockchain. And because you can not only be open source, that means it's free and open, right? But also it's a means of communication. And therefore, because it's a means of communication, it is and should be protected by First Amendment rights.
Absolutely. It's freedom of speech. That's what Richard Hart was talking about, right? With freedom of speech is like it's your ability to transact and your ability to have free speech. And I mean, what is it the government's trying to do right now? Put a cage around it, you know? I just,
They want to limit your power, boys and girls. They want to take your stuff away. So what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get more leverage? Are you going to get more powerful? Are you going to get more strong? So that way you can resist the people that want to take your stuff away from you? Or are you going to kowtow and just let people remove things? This is what it's all like. This is like to tie it all together. Like this is what the general idea of cryptocurrency is like, we want to have sovereignty. We want to be able to transact. We want to be able to financially transact without needing to ask permission from a bank. Hey, can I spend more than $1,000 a day? Hey, can I wire my buddy 50 grand and not have to, pay you, a third party person, some exorbitant fee, and then you have to go submit the request to daddy government, who's going to update it on their version of an Excel spreadsheet, which is super duper private and stupid and sketchy? Or can I do it on a public one, right, where I have control, where my friend gets the money almost instantaneously, right? Even with the slowest network, Bitcoin, like you can still get money in 10 minutes anywhere within like almost pretty much the entire world, anywhere that has internet access and electricity. I think there's even like some way to do Bitcoin using like satellites and ham radio and shit like that. I don't know anything about that. I've heard rumors and stuff from my father, but yeah, like the whole point of cryptocurrency is getting sovereignty, moving away from being under the thumb of government, under the thumb of big banks, under the thumb of people who have more power than you. So I highly encourage all the folks at home to go and get as much leverage in life as possible. Go get as much power, go get as much ability, and live your own life as best as you can to accomplish your goals, to whatever your means and your ends to. We're going to go ahead and do a quick little transition. We're going to shout out some more of the folks at home. I've got some more of the starred chats. Mrs. Producer, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and getting them ready. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, crypto degenerates, ducks and squirrels, you already know what time it is. It's time for chat shoutouts round 2. We've got 6 things going on here. Oh, and by the way, for the folks at home who have any questions about any of this stuff or any relevant comments, we'll be sure to address those as good as we see fit. For the rest of the folks on the panel here, if you guys see anything that you want to talk about in the comments, go ahead, like, let me know in the private chats, and we will bring them up as well. But first and foremost, we've got Agent J again with DGen Roundtable, reminding us that our first stream, Dace was shirtless. I do not remember, but I might have to go back and check because that's fucking awesome. Good
All
shit,
of the
Dace.
ladies, go back and check that.
Excelente, excelente. Up next, we got Paul Sachs. Dace been cooking dat baking soda. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but that sounds about right. Oh, baking soda, because Dace has been cooking, so Dace is baking soda. Okay, that one went like right over my head. Forgive me, Paul. I'm I'm a little bit inept right now, it would seem. Next up, we got Mr. Angry Twinkie. To pump or to dump? That is the question. And again, this is in reference to the fact that the prices are so fucking low right now. But we see all this activity on chain going on from entities, we'll say, that we can sort of guess what they're going to do in the future and potentially hope for it. So like you can look at the price and say, oh, the price is crazy down. What am I going to do? Am I going to sell all my assets at a loss and just like, rip off the Band-Aid and get out because I hate it? Or am I going to be like, this is an opportunity to buy more because I know, or well, I don't know, but I can infer that a person that I think is going to do cool things might do more cool things or something along those lines. Who the fuck knows, really? To pump or to dump, that's the question. Next up, we got Mr. T, loving the Richard Hart talk. We're loving to have it, brother. Mr. T, I don't believe we've seen you before, so welcome to the DGen Roundtable. If you have been here before, welcome again. Forgive my memory. It's all hard, or it's all RAM up here. There's no hard drive. Excellent to have you, though. Fantastic. Next up, we got Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics, another one of my fantastic rigging experts. This guy knows a lot about the same sort of stuff that I know, so inside stuff there for my fellow cable and pulleys guys. Same thing with Dace as well. Dace is a rigging master. What's up to you two, Mr. Moonpilled Rational Optics? And then finally we have Mr. Yellowtail of the Two Fucks Protocol. Him and Fast Abdul tearing it up in the chats as always, bringing out those cool projects for everyone. What is up, Mr. Yellowtail? We're glad to have you, broski. Welcome to the stream. And that does it for all of the starred chats. I'm doing a quick little scroll through of the regular chats, and I don't see anything crazy for me. I'm going to go take a look at the private chat. And oh my gosh, Agent J, you've got hair in your YouTube profile picture, my friend. That is amazing. That is awesome. I love it. I used to have hair as well, but not anymore. I've given all my hair to Nate, so that's all that I've got for that. Oh, and then this is a question answered for Tam. Can you pull that up again, Mrs. Producer? Tam, Agent J gave a general entry points during the stream earlier. Detailed TA will potentially be done by Z this evening, I believe. Zenith, do you have some TA that you are able to pull up at some point during the stream? We'll probably throw it in later in the show if you're able to. If not, no sweat. Jay has done some TA in the past before. What are your thoughts, brother?
We absolutely can. I'm probably not going to have anything more detailed than what we already covered on Sunday. We can look at the price action, talk about where it is right now in relation to previous prices, support and resistances, and what kind of momentum it has. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot more we can really cover. Other than that, I do have some math about a question we did not finish on Sunday, which was talking about incentive token inflation. I think I have definitive information on that because the previous chatter was trying to figure out if there is a halvening or not. The answer, by the way, is no, there is not. It inflates at 1 incentive token per second forever. The APR does have a bit of a half-life associated to it, which we can cover that, and I have the numbers for that.
Okay.
But TA, yeah, when we're ready, we can open up the charts and look at it.
We'll do some TA around the 1 hour mark. So keep a look up at that little red 1 hour mark. That's when we'll launch into the TA. For now, though, let's go ahead and hop into this incentive token stuff since it's fresh on the mind. For the folks at home who missed what we were talking about on Sunday, can you give them a brief little overview?
Yes. So this is a question that myself and a handful of other people have been trying to find definitive answers for. And the unfortunate answer is that there's no definitive source. However, you can kind of get consensus based on an aggregation of data and how much is repeated or not repeated, or there's conflicting or disproving information. So people have been trying to speculate as, does the incentive token itself have a depreciation rate associated with it built into the code? The answer to that is no. all the available data that I've been able to find shows that it pretty much just stays at 1 incentive token per second forever. But you got to keep in mind that it starts at 0 and goes from there. So the rate that it inflates always will remain the same. However, what that is, the change in supply as opposed to the existing supply is going to
Linear.
decrease over time. Yes, sorry, I have a graph to pull up right now.
So,
Mrs. Producer, if you don't mind.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so someone actually out there made an app for this that I found. It's called incsupply.anvil.app. If you are familiar with hexfire.io, this is going to be pretty familiar user interface. So what we're looking at right now is this is all the data for incentive token on Pulse Chain for however long it's been going on. I think we're at like week 55 now, if my math is correct. Day 412 is what GoPulse.com has us at. But as you can see, the green bars, that is showing the supply for the incentive token, and it goes up very steadily and very linear. If you look at the red curve that's overlaid on top of it, that is the annualized inflation rate. So the way that you can kind of calculate the inflation rate is you take an instantaneous snapshot of however much the inflation is going up per year, which, for reference, since 1 incentive token per second sounds a bit nebulous, that is 3,600 incentive tokens per hour, and that is 86,400 incentive tokens per day, and that is 32 million incentive tokens per year. So every year we get 32 million incentive tokens, 31,536,000 incentive tokens. That's a lot. Is anyone going to be able to buy up all those? Probably not. And if they did, the price would pump exponentially. But the point is this, is that you can kind of think about it as every time the annualized inflation rate halves, the time between those halvings doubles. So what that means is that at 1 year, you can kind of imagine we had 100% inflation, which is that the projection for the next year is going to be the same as the previous year. So that means that at 2 years, we have a 50% inflation rate. And then at 4 years, we have a 25% inflation rate. And then at 8 years, we have a 12.5% inflation rate. So that's the way that you can kind of grasp it in your head. I know this is a lot of numbers, but this is what we found. As far as my sources, GoPulse.com is a large one. There's multiple articles on Medium.com. I found a few Reddit threads where there was only like one person that proposed the idea of the halving, but very quickly all the comments and a lot of the replies were with, no, this is incorrect. And then lastly, howtopulse.com has a large section on this as well, talking about how it's just the single inflation rate. And then they are the ones who actually have the link to the application that I'm showing right now.
Okay.
So that is what I got. We're not going to get
cool. So
yeah, go for
Zenith,
it.
Can I one thing that you mentioned, the supply increases, right? But that doesn't mean it goes into the market right away. It doesn't mean that it can be purchased. Those coins that are added are given out as rewards. So it's not like it goes into supply. It's not like it goes into the supply that can be purchased right away. It's essentially sits in a pot ready to be paid out to people that are farming. So the more people farm, the more ink that's going to be brought into the market. So while the supply increases, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how much is circulating. And that's something that people need to keep into consideration as well, because the only way that you can earn ink is by farming. And yes, then people sell it and buy it from there. But there's no other way to get ink unless you are farming it. And so therefore there's no supply going to be increased, no supply going into circulation unless what? People are farming. So the more farming that's happening, which I happen to be farming quite a bit, because why not? I'm getting free ink, might as well. Just because it's created doesn't mean it's in circulation. That's all I want to say.
Yep.
No, that's a very good point. This again goes to the idea of liquidity versus market cap. You can look at the market cap, or in this case, the pure market supply. Yes, the market supply is going to increase, but there is one way, I repeat it, one way for new incentive token to be created, and that is through the V1 staking on pulsex.com. After that, step 2 is, you got to put in the liquidity pools, or you have to be willing to sell it to somebody. So there's a two-step process there. How much is there, and how much are people willing to sell? That ultimately is going to be the mechanism that affects the incentive token price.
Yeah,
You do
and-
realize that the reason why Richard Hart made it that way is because he's expecting more adoption as we go along.
Could
Can
be.
you elaborate on that?
I don't know what that
Well,
means.
So think about this, right? So basically, the more and more years that you go along, the more ink is being thrown into, say, the pot, right? To use Brendan's analogy there. And so that means that he's expecting more people to get into those farms and start pulling them out. And so therefore, if you had enough people into like enough adoption, ink would absolutely explode in price because there wouldn't be enough supply. Technically, we'd be farming it all out.
Yeah, because
There's only so much
everyone
that we can farm out.
yeah, so like because if there's more people farming, then each individual farmer is getting less from the supply. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Like from that pot?
Yeah, but the fact that he
Okay.
has a very steadily going up means that he's not accounting for when there's more people or more adoption and less people, less adoption, right? He's not really accounting for that, so which means that there is a possibility that we could get so much adoption that ink becomes incredibly rare where you're not able to farm any of it out. And
Well-
you could imagine how the price would absolutely pump off that.
Well, there's one thing that you need to take into consideration. The code does allow for that 1 ink per second to change, my understanding. So if they need more ink because people are farming too much, then I think that they would increase how much ink's created. Now, Zenith, can you confirm that? That is something that I have looked up in the past. That could be changed, but
I've not heard that.
I don't
Go
know if incentive token reward rate can be adjusted. It would seem very odd if it can, because one of the things that you look for when you do code audits, especially for crypto projects, is you want to see if there are any admin keys or if someone has the ability to change the code, or if it is fully kind of like surrendered. My understanding is that a lot of this stuff is, however, PulseX does go through updates. We did have the V2 launch, and I believe we even had the V3 launch. Or not a V3 launch, but a V3 update. So it's theoretically possible. I don't see any evidence that it's not. But the unfortunate through line through all this stuff is that when it comes to us trying to determine how this actually works, is that it's largely speculation. Unless you are a person that can really open up the code and break it down and understand what's going on, you're just going to have to rely on the information that other people are telling you, because there's no white paper for this.
Yep,
There's not really even a good explanation from the official source. It's a lot of just people trying to piece together everything that they've heard, and if anything is stories around the campfire, it's kind of this.
I like it. On the subject of ink being a story around the campfire, I'm going to toss it over to Jeff before we hop into our TA here at the top of the hour. Jeff, do you have any? I got a little birdie told me that you and Dace were earlier speaking about the SAC wallet or the origin address wallet, whatever the heck it is that perhaps you can clarify that for me, and its past purchases of incentive token and potentially current purchases of incentive token. What are you guys' thoughts? Have you had any analysis on that in the recent past?
Yeah, sure. Well, about Nate's point, regardless if more people come in or not, I think depending on the amount of people and the liquidity in the pools, the APY would change. So even if less people didn't come in, I mean, if more people didn't come in, the APY would just alter. So it'll still get farmed regardless. But so we were talking Sunday, and I was basically saying that ink, like, go look at any other DEX and platform and incentive token. You always see a high rise in the beginning because people get in and start farming the shit out of it. But then when people start to believe you're getting towards the top, they usually don't want to be exit liquidity, so they'll remove it, and they will usually swap it into the core coins for other platforms. So that was kind of my thinking, that ink will top out first, but you'll see it decline first. But then Dace, I'll let him actually talk about it himself, but he kind of said that in order for the platform for Pulse Chain and PulseX to keep its liquidity, what incentivizes people to keep those farms going? And that's not only the APY, it's also price appreciation, because your APY is a percentage, but if the price keeps skyrocketing, that will incentivize people to keep it in the pools, and that will be a way for Richard to get people to keep liquidity available for people to withdraw. If you want to touch on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, you kind of nailed it. The trick is in the name, right? It is it is the incentive. Let's imagine for a moment that we're up off the floor. We're however many X higher. I spoke with Jeff about this morning on a phone call very quickly, and said, think back 4 years ago from today in 2020, or let's say in the middle of Hex's run. Liquidity on Hex is what it is. Its price is appreciating, and there's messaging out there saying, sacrifice, don't sell, stake, don't sell, right? Here are things you can do instead of selling to chop the price down. Incentive token will be the ultimate farm, don't sell, will be the ultimate lure for people to keep their money in the system, and to incentivize folks to, instead of market selling once things have run up, to keep their value, right? Don't chop up the chart, and continue to farm out your passive income monthly through the farms, just like it was encouraged of us to stake instead of sell our Hex gains, right? And so I could very much foresee, as we come up off the floor and as things start to move, there being a decision to make of, do I want to market sell? Do I want to chop the price, or do I want to continue, right? It would make a lot of sense. Again, let's go back to Richard's perspective. Do our very best to put our little peanut brains in Richard's head and say to ourselves, okay, if I want people to stay in this system, it would make a lot of sense for me to incentivize, quite literally, people keeping their money in and farming it, rather than selling it and pulling it out into the dirty fiat. And so I think that you're going to see an interesting tug of war, push and pull, in terms of the community's valuation of these coins as we move forward into the future. And I think that that's when you're going to start to see some disparity, where some people are going to find value in ink, and some people are going to, you're not people that hold it, just like now, right? It's just going to become more exaggerated, some of that rift and some of that tension as things move up financially, and the stakes quite literally move up for all of these coins. That's just some of my thoughts.
So one of the things I think is interesting is Ink has only 2 Poseidons and 6 whales currently holding. And so like a Poseidon is basically like 2 million Ink, right? And whales are right around 227,000. So my thought is going off of what you were talking about with, the incentive, right? You're going to need some price appreciation. Well, it's one of the best things to do to appreciate price is to make it more rare, right? So my question is, perhaps, or not question, but I'll go ahead and throw it to you guys. How about this? Do you think that Ricardo Corazon may have gathered up a few million Ink and he's just kind of like setting it aside?
Wouldn't
Just
surprise
to kind of
me.
hold that price?
Similar to what he's done with other coins that he's created. So I mean, like, I would not be surprised at all to find out that Richard Hart has bought some of the things that he's made.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say though is there's no wallets that we know that are connected to Richard Hart that have ink or have a lot of ink, and so I don't think there's any that have a lot. So maybe it's in a wallet that we don't know. Jeff, can you confirm?
Well, I can't confirm, but I can give you something I've speculated on. This is something we were going to talk about later on in the show, but might as well just talk about it now. So you see a lot of people saying, "Oh man, the multiplier when we did the sacrifice, it was such a bad idea. It allowed people to get too many coins, and now you have all these whales." If you think Richard didn't consider this and take some of the sacrifice money and throw it through like a ETH like mixer, and then like have 200, I'm making this number up, but have like 200 other sister anonymous wallets that he owns, and he took that money and put it back in there, and this whole entire time, yes, he has bought ink. Sometimes we've seen him buy it, but not only that, I guarantee he's probably been farming it in those wallets.
This campfire story is getting spicy.
Oh yeah,
Continue.
yeah. Ghost stories. So yes, I think Richard wants all his coins to do well. Every single one of them. There's no coin. The ecosystem works as a singular entity that they all have to do well, especially when you go see everything bonded. So when Richard does decide to pump price, he is going to pull pools, but he's not going to pull Pulse and Pulse X pools or pools that are his core coins linked together. It's in his best interest to leave those coins linked, and he's going to pull stables. Because think about it, if he reduces the amount bonded between his core coins and he puts money into, let's say, Pulse, the other coins won't pump as much. So he's going to want to keep all his coins highly, highly pooled and keep the stables low so he can do a lot of price appreciation. So yes, I think Richard is absolutely stacking every single one of his coins through farming, through buying, through ways we don't know.
You know what's interesting as well, Jeff, about that is when Richard Hart was back when he was streaming a couple of years ago before Pulse Chain launched, someone asked him, "Hey, what's your least favorite of your coins?" And he was like, "Well, I guess Ink's my least favorite because, you know, it's just like an incentive token." But then when you hear him talk about Ink on Twitter, calling it the #1 meme coin on Pulse Chain, it shows me he does have a lot of love for it. And maybe he has more love than he had originally anticipated. And that's something that's very interesting, especially the liquidity of Ink. I mean, it can really pump really quickly.
It can. It's right at it's the second lowest. It's got like 1 million more in liquidity than Hex. Hex and Ink are both super, super, super low. And what happens if you add the utility? What happens if Richard, which he's going to, what if he comes out with a wallet and that every time you do a transaction on that wallet, a part of that goes to maybe a buy and burn for Ink? We're speculating here, but other people have said that.
I mean, look, that's huge speculation. We all want Richard to launch a wallet one day. We don't know if he will. We would like him to. And if something were to create a buy and burn for Ink, or even use it for like, you know, fees or whatever for something, and then get some of that that's burnt, oh my gosh, that would just blow the top off that coin.
It is one of the things that Richard Hart has said he wants to do, but you know, is obviously still speculation here. But yeah, it's a wallet and a stable coin, right? But oh, forgive me. I'm forgetting my point. Just move on to the next topic, people. I think we beat this up enough.
We do have 2 native stable coins on Pulse Chain, right? We have USDL and PXDC. So from Liquid Loans and from Earn Protocol. So those are 2 native stable coins already on the platform currently.
That's right. Shout out to Walrus and Liquid Loans. Walrus was actually in our Telegram call this past Tuesday. And so if you want to be able to interact directly with protocol founders, they're active in our chat, just to try to get you guys over to join our call on Tuesdays and join the group here, right here.
And Jesse from Earn Protocol, Dace, just like you know, PXDC, he's in our chat. He's always giving great information. So good point.
That's right. Look, I think Axis is in there. We've got all kind of coin founders in there. Lots of different various
Crypto Sloth.
That's right. Goat Token. We got all kind of people in there.
I want to say Hex DC is also a stablecoin native to Pulse Chain from the Flex protocol. I'm not sure if Hex DC is the ticker name or something, but like basically the ssme copy as the Pulse X stablecoin, the Pulse Chain stablecoin, all of those borrowing lending protocols. They all have a stablecoin in addition to the protocol for the lending and everything, and they have their protocol coin. So I'm fairly certain it's Hex DC, but I could be wrong. Forgive me if I am wrong on that. Jeff, did you have something you wanted to say before we move on into some TA with Mr. Zenith?
It was just a pure guess of mine, and we were talking about the wallet, and I don't think Richard will do a sack for a wallet. If Richard puts out a wallet, I'll think he'll wait toward when he starts pumping his coins and we're getting towards the top, and I think all of a sudden he'll just bam, here's a wallet that I've been working on. Now you have a safe place to store your Richard coins, and here it is. That's just me guessing. Nothing important.
Okay.
And here maybe you can stake in this wallet with one click.
I do like the one-click staking idea. Mr. Zenith and I have been speaking about that for a while. We've spoken to Kool-Aid about it. I'm super stoked for anything that could create a one-click stake option. That would be super awesome. On the subject of speaking of Mr. Zenith, can we go ahead? Oh, look at that. You've already got the stuff ready to rock and roll. Zenith, would you mind launching into a little bit of the TA stuff we had teased about earlier?
I sure can.
Tam, listen up.
All right, so I'm using GoPulse.com. I'm pretty sure that anybody that has been doing pulse chain stuff for the last year and some change has gotten very familiar with this website. By the way, I can't remember if this is an RH Max product. I know Go Real DeFi is him. I can't remember who is the actual person behind this one. But either way, we are very familiar with this one, and all the data that we're going to get from this comes off of Dex Screener and the aggregation of all the different dexes on Pulse Chain for there. So right now, Pulse Chain sitting at what we'll call 44. It's 4 zeros and then a 44. We are 44% of SAC price. And then Pulse X is at 21, which is 21% of SAC price. Incentive token is $2.35. This is the one that's definitely had the most gains off of the bottom at this point. And then up next we have Hex, which is at about half a penny right now. And then eHex down here is at about 1/10 of a penny, or 1600ths of a penny. That being said, let's jump into the charts. Up first, we got Pulse Chain itself. So the yellow line here is our SAC price. And then I also just have a simple 50-day moving average turned on just so we can see how things have been moving for a bit. Right now, the story of Hex is July 31st was really the big death candle when we got the SEC suing Richard Hart. That is where you see everything kind of go downhill. We did have one large movement here January through March. And then mid-March is when we topped out and started moving downwards since then. But right now where we're at is over here. In my opinion, we just broke down a resistance level of about 46. It comes off of these lows in December, and then also it was a resistance that was flipped into a support, which we've now broken through, and this is possibly going to act as resistance for us. It did act as support here once in May, but then we kind of broke back. We broke down through it. We had sorry, ad blockers yelling at me. We had a bit of a back test here, and then confirmed that it got flipped, and now we've gone back down. We didn't quite hit it on some of the green candles like 2 days ago, but even then, this is still very recent data, so there's a lot left to come. But the main thing with Pulse Chain right now is that we are well below our medium-term momentum indicator, which is our 50 daily moving average. So this guy right here, this curve. So we're going to have to find some sort of support, probably going to be here at about 40 or 40% of SAC price. There's still a good ways to go until we get there, but at the same time, it looks like there is some old support from back in October of 2023, and after that, there's only one more level, and that is really the all-time low, sitting down there at 33. Moving on to PulseX. PulseX, unfortunately, has not really spent a whole lot of time above SAC price. It only really did that back in the very beginning, and then since then it's been a lot of downhill stuff. General shape very much matches Pulse Chain. That's going to be a very common theme throughout this entire TA portion, but right now where we're sitting is that we broke through what appeared to be an old support line from back around November, and then we've been retesting it as a support up until we actually broke through in May. And then since then, it has actually started to act as resistance. So we flipped that support into a resistance when we touched it once, touched it again, and we just kept bouncing off of it until we broke below. We tried to creep back up above it one time, but got rejected. And since then, it's just been a battle with this 2022, we'll call it 23 for simplicity's sake, that line. That is the current thing that we have to break through right now. Outside of that, the the next resistance or support that we're going to get to is about 18, and then below that 12, and then even below that we're going to get the all-time low is less than 10% of SAC price, down at 5 zeros and an 8.9. So hopefully we never get anywhere close to that, because that would be very bad news, especially for the chain that is this more than a year old at this point. But right now, as far as what's going on, is that we've really been chopping around this area. You can kind of imagine there's a box that we've been chopping around. Let's see, moving average. Up. Oh, interesting. Look at that. If we look at our 50-day moving average, this is our medium-term momentum indicator. We've been below it ever since 18th of March, but we've retested it once when we had that retest of the flipped area, and then we are retesting it yesterday, or pretty much earlier today. So now this is going to be a bit of a pivotal moment for Pulse X to see if it actually is willing to go above this momentum indicator. But odds are it's probably going to follow Pulse price, if I had to guess. It seems like Pulse is really the one that kind of dominates this like trifecta, and everything kind of moves off of that. Moving over to incentive token. Yeah, what's up?
One quick note on PulseX before Pulse. You mentioned that it may follow Pulse, but if you look at the PulseX and Pulse ratio chart, it's actually PulseX is testing its highs against Pulse currently.
Ooh,
so that's something
look at that.
to bear in
Excellent
mind.
Point.
Yeah. Quite a different story being told on this chart. I like watching this chart a lot. I didn't want to cut you off there for too long. Just an interesting detail about this PulseX chart is that ratio chart against Pulse. Pretty interesting right now.
For sure. Just for the folks at home, this is Pulse X divided by the price of Pulse. So right now we're sitting at about 0.48. So if you go out to this, what you'll see is what we're actually looking at is the ratio of Pulse to Pulse chain. So right now here it's reading 2.08. What that is effectively this number, but just inversed. So you can kind of think of it like this. So when we're going down, it means that it requires, make sure I got that right. If we're, the closer we get to 1 is the closer we get to them being equal to each other.
Correct.
So right now what's going on is Pulse X is actually getting closer in value to Pulse Chain. We've seen it top out here at about this 2.25 number. That translates to 4 Pulse X to every 1 pulse. But ever since then, it's been a lot of up. And we topped out here once. That was in March. March was a very, very exciting time for us because that was when we had a lot of, I think that was when we had the Hex whale come pump price. And that was also when we were finishing the top of our run. And everyone was really just celebrating being above sack price. But
so this is also the same wallet bought PulseX that is currently buying that we denoted. So the last time that wallet bought is it also that same March candle on the ratio that you see here.
What's fascinating is that you really don't see it with the USDC all that much, but you really see it versus Pulse. So that is fascinating.
That's right. When you place the value against Pulse versus the dollar, it looks like 2 different charts. For sure.
Yeah, and for me, I'm not looking at my coins in dollar value. I'm looking at them in the ratios around other coins within the Richard Heart ecosystem, because that gives me the opportunity when one ratio runs one direction to maybe swap one of those coins into another coin, so that I can potentially increase my amount of coins without actually having to put more money into the market. This is what we like to call a swing trade. Now, you should swing trade with a small percentage of your bag. If you don't know what you're doing, then probably don't swing trade. But looking at these charts, the coins compared to each other, rather than compared to a stable coin or the US dollar, it gives you the opportunity to see what might be valuable or what might be at a zone where, hey, it might be a good time for me to switch some Pulse into Pulse X or from some Pulse X into Pulse. Like this chart tells me, hey, maybe it's time to swap some Pulse X into Pulse. I don't know, but those are things that we want to look at, and those are things that we want to take into consideration.
I like it. Alrighty.
Oh, I should also mention there's only one Richard Heart coin that wallet has never purchased. Do you know what that is?
What is that?
Pulse.
Hex.
Hex.
Back when they were doing the 10K clips. When was that? Back in April?
That was like
March.
That was early. Yeah, about April.
February?
March, April. Yeah, he bought every Pulse chain coin, but no EHEX.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So he bought Pulse Chain, he bought Pulse X, he bought Ink, and he bought Hex, but he did not buy Hex on Ethereum.
Which
so
he
that
said he
is
wasn't going to do
something
anyways.
to know.
So
What's that?
he said he wasn't going to do it anyways, and so I mean,
it's just something to know, and it's something that people need to know and take into consideration when they're buying coins. I personally want to have a little bit of every coin, even if EHEX is more speculative. I personally want to have a little bit, and it's pretty low right now. But overall, I'm focused on PulseX top 2, and now I'm focused on Ink farming, and I've always had some Hex, so I will always be increasing that bag a little bit as well.
Excellent. Good decisions, boys and girls. I know that there's a couple folks in the chat. Yeah, Hex or Tam says she's buying Hex. I know that I'm buying Hex. Everyone else is theoretically, well, I'm not going to say everyone else. Many people are buying Hex. I do like to buy the Hex and then stake it out for 15 years. That's one of my favorite things to do. So
Yes,
outstanding.
sir.
This is some good technical analysis. Is that oh,
We
excuse
got
me.
3
I don't want
to
to
go.
Yes, I was going to say I don't want to cut you off if you're not ready. Let's launch right on into the next one, broski.
Sure thing. So incentive token, when you look at this chart, you want to keep in mind that this one is so quote unquote like taller than the others, which is that on average, the amount of X's that we did to the all-time high to the all-time low is much larger than all the other ones. Because remember, this kind of dovetails nicely with the incentive token supply that we talked about previously, which is that it started at 0 and went up from there, which means that in the early days, it was super, super easy to pump the price very hard because liquidity was so low. The farther we move into the future, the greater the supply is going to be, and theoretically that means there should be, or probably will be, more incentive tokens in liquidity pools, which means it's going to take more monetary energy to pump the price, same amounts. But if we do analyze where we are right now, is that we're sitting at about, we've been bouncing between this area here of $3.30 to about $2.20. And right now we're looking like we're at the lower end of it. And then I got my moving average indicator turned on. We'll look at the 50-day. Cool. Okay, so we're still sitting under our medium-term momentum indicator. But right now, the main support level that we're bouncing off of and holding is this $2.23 level. If we break down past that, odds are we're probably going to go down to this area, which is about $1.51, but more likely it's possible that we keep going down to about $1.25. So incentive token all-time lows was about 40 cents or just a hair under it if my memory serves me correct, at about 39 cents. And then since then our most recent high was about just shy of $10. And then since then, back in March, it's been a bit of a downward slope with some chopping up and down along the way, but largely we've just been moving down. So incentive token, the market cap or the supply is a lot smaller than all the other tokens, so it has the ability to go either direction very quickly. And I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of people in this space are speculating that incentive token is the one that has the ability to do the most X's. I'm saying earlier on, it's going to have the ability to do more X's. As time goes on, I think this is one of the tokens in particular that's going to start to stabilize more and more than the other ones. But that's what we got right now. Any questions on incentive token?
What makes you think it's going to stabilize? Like you said, stabilize sooner, right, than the others?
Well, it just goes back to the supply, which is that PulseX is purely deflationary. I believe PulseChain itself is also slightly deflationary. And then Hex is inflationary. So Hex could also have a similar effect, but I'm going to have to look into the numbers on this one. The point that I'm saying is that deflationary tokens, theoretically, are going to continue to have that same amount of volatility into the future because the supply is dwindling, and you can assume that your demand curve is slowly going to increase over time. Therefore, you should be able to get those parabolic effects still later on into a token's life cycle. So with inflationary tokens, the supply is always forever increasing, and so is your demand, which means that depending on which of those factors is going to be overriding the other, whether your inflation is going to be more prevalent than the demand increasing, or your demand is going to increase faster than the inflation is. But either way, there's kind of like an equilibrium when both of them are going in the same direction.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the supply, though, and Ink. He's basically planning on the adoption of people just continually coming in.
I hear what you're saying, although when it comes to specifically the Pulse X stuff, I think the reason that incentive token will be worthwhile is because incentive token is there to incentivize people to use Pulse X. Pulse X was the first decentralized exchange that we had on Pulse Chain, and it's the one that is controlled by the owner theoretically. Therefore, incentive token is the reward for using that one as opposed to all the others, which is that if you invested in other dexes, you get rewarded with whatever their incentive token is, as opposed to Pulse X, which has the V1 and V2 pools, which is you're either going to get paid out in, what is it, Pulse and Pulse X, I think, or you get paid out in incentive token. So I hear what you're saying, but I think there's another dynamic to it, which is that incentive token, it doesn't have a use case other than it is the reward that you get for doing something else, but it doesn't have its own use case per se. It's why people call it the meme token.
So far it has.
So far, but that's all
We'll see.
speculation for
Yep,
anything.
spaghetti
past
at the
that.
wall. Campfire stories.
Exactly. All right. Any last questions about incentive token chart before we move on to the dynamic duo, Hex and eHex?
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Last two. Here we go. So, a bit of an asterisk when it comes to the Hex chart is that this is all the data that we have available to us post Pulse Chain launch. So theoretically, this chart could have outside forces that include history from the eHex chart, and I'll try to incorporate some of that later when I talk about the eHex chart. But as of right now, I'm just going to try to analyze the data that I have in front of me. That's what we got. Okie doke.
I'm not gonna lie, this chart looks a bit familiar. If you go back to actually eHex, back to the beginning of Hex, right? It looks a lot like that, where it's like pump rejection, pump rejection.
On what time frame are you referring to?
So the time frame. So I didn't look at the time frame, but I looked at the way that it's looking currently, and it was that way about 3 times before. That's when Hex really started to take off. It was like it pumped up and then rejected, pumped up, rejected.
Again, do you know which specific time frame you're looking at?
It was the very beginning. I do not.
It might be before we have data. When was Hex launched?
December 2nd, 2019, I believe. Maybe December 5th.
Either way, if it's 2019, the earliest data that I have on here is from May of 2020. That's what I'm getting at. This is the eHex chart, by the way. I swapped over just because we were talking about it. I will go ahead and switch
Yeah, I don't
back.
think the charts go all the way back, Zenith.
Will is correct. December 2nd, 2019.
Oh,
Gotcha.
I got it. I win the bonus points.
Unfortunate. We're going to have to dig up that data. I think there is Hex, I think it's like hexstats.com or hexdata.com. It is a pure data dump. So if you enjoy girthy Excel sheets, that's the one for you. You should be able to calculate your own stuff off of that. But again, it's going to require a good amount of computing power to do so. Okay, anyways, to the Hex chart. So right now, this is something we talked about. Shoot, it was back around early in June. Someone mentioned on one of the previous streams we were talking about that Hex on Pulse Chain is looking like it's actually approaching its all-time lows. I don't include these like first few candles because this data it's from a very weird time and there's not really a whole lot of economic purpose to it. So pretty much everything after the first dump is really relevant data in my personal opinion. So with that in consideration, the previous all-time low is back here on 25th of August at about a little over half penny. You, an astute viewer, would notice that we are currently below that previous all-time low, which means that we are technically in price discovery on the Pulse Chain Hex chart, which is that there's no support below aside from anything that you can try to infer from the other eHex chart. So right now, we're looking to find the bottom. Where it is, who knows? But when we find it, it'll probably give a good bounce, maybe a retest, and then after that, it should probably go back up. But as of right now, we are well under the momentum indicators.
Hey, Zenith, when you get a second, will you switch the chart to PX against Rat Pulse for the ratio? Not now, when you're done doing what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that in a sec. So right now, we got our 50-day moving average indicator. Again, this is the medium-term momentum indicator. and we are moving away from it, which is that we are not getting closer to it. We did try to go closer to it and almost retest back in early June, but we've only had one retest in early May. And then other than that, we really haven't seen anything super close to it until, again, mid-March is when everything really kind of just like, not going to say shit the bed, but I believe this day in particular, the 10th of March, was the specific day that Richard Hart released his little video montage talking about how he believes that Hex on Pulse Chain will be the Hex and eHex will not be as valuable. So that is when we have that great event. Other than that, Jeff, here you go. This is the Hex divided by Pulse chart, or the ratio between those. This is one that one of our good friends, Axis Alive, was harping on for a good bit. I want to say Sami was also talking about it. And one of the reasons they were is that about this level right here, which is that this chart defended the 100 pulse per hex level very heavily. And then since then, we've come off that bottom and only gone up, and we've gone down a little bit. But again, this 100 pulse per hex has kind of been a bit of a magic number for this chart. Jeff, what were you going to say about this one?
No, just me, I remember when that happened a while back. Me and Dace were literally like on the phone, and I think you did too, Dace. Maybe not. I know. Yeah, we both did. We swapped. I think we ratio swapped a good chunk at 100-1, and like I think we like kind of almost perfectly nailed it. It might have been like 102-1, but yeah, that was good little swing trade that Brendan was talking about earlier.
That's right, Jeff. You know, I spend a lot of time on both of these ratio charts, and I did make a couple of swaps based off of what they are saying from my pulse, both into PulseX and into Hex, at opportune levels that Zenith has pointed out here and that Jeff is mentioning. And so, if you are heavy into the RH ecosystem and you own more than one flavor of the tokens, it's a good idea to map them against each other. That way you can see their speculative price against one another and not just be sort of blinded by their USD price.
That's something people really don't look at often, is the comparative to the coins rather than just the USD, right? Everyone's always looking at the US dollar price and then say, oh no, my coin is down. When in truth, what you're trying to do right now is you're trying to get as many of these core coins as possible, right? So the idea that every single time you're swapping, one pulse, you get, say, 3 PulseX versus, oh, well, now I can go ahead and swap, these 4 PulseX, right, to get, 2 pulse, right? It's like, okay, well, things are definitely changed up there. Something that I learned that you should do is you should just create basically like a box, sort of say, right? That just says, I want to sell here into Pulse, and then down here be like, oh, I want to sell into Pulse X, right? And then you just kind of watch it, and once it hits those boxes, then you just make a trade. Now, Brendan, is that what you do as well?
Honestly, I've looked at these charts so much that I know what the ratios are, and I know what's a good ratio for me to swap at, and what's a good ratio for me to maybe swap back at. So on some coins that I'm less familiar with, I will do something to that extent. I'll draw on the chart sort of what my swap ratios want to be. It's if you're unsure, you can write it down. You can look at history and Dex Screener. But for me on these coins, I just know them. I mean, I know like 2-1 Hex to Pulse. Man, that's pretty sweet. So yeah, it's
You mean PulseX to Pulse?
Well, sorry, 0.5 PulseX to Pulse. I think right now it's what, 0.48, something like that. Do you have that chart still? I think that's what it said on the other chart that we looked at earlier.
Which one were you looking for?
The PulseX Pulse. I think it was 0.48, something like that.
Okay.
Which is like, we haven't seen that since the beginning. So we're literally at the top of the zone. So for me personally, I'm not saying to swap some PulseX into Pulse, but if you're heavy in PulseX, then it might be a time to swap some into Pulse, because look at that. It's at the top of the zone. Now, that could just continue, and you could never get that Pulse back. And so look, swing trades are always risky, and that's why you do it with a small percentage of your bag. But to me, I mean, you guys tell me, does that look like a chart that you might want to swap some PulseX to wrap Pulse if you're heavy on PulseX? It's definitely possible.
It is just like we were saying. Like, yes, PHEX is at a new all-time low, but if we are just talking about Richard coins, it might be at all-time low. But if you swapped at that ratio, you're in profit. You're in profit if you swapped into PX from Pulse at that 100-to-1 ratio.
And we are in the weeds. This is deep stuff.
Yes, we are. Alrighty. Any final comments on the Hex on Pulse chain chart? We got one more to cover real quick, and that's eHex, and we will close out the TA section and get back to the more lively sections. I know I've been numbers guy today. I apologize for that, but I like numbers.
Nah, you're doing great, man. The numbers are good. Some of the folks at home need to see the numbers, even if they don't know what it means. Show them the numbers.
Very true. Okie doke. This is the eHex chart. We have officially swapped over. I'll go ahead and give it a weekly just to give a full picture of everything that we've gone through.
Ooh, look at that green.
Yep. So for the people that have been around for a hot minute, you will remember this top right here. Yes, this is the 50-cent top back in September of 2021. And since then, we've had a bit of a interesting trip. This includes our run up early in 2023. And then I believe this right here is, yep, that's around the time we had Pulse Chain launch in May of 2023, back when the snapshot had a quick pump and then a rather large dump, unfortunately. And then since then, this chart has had some troubles, to say the least. And then notably, again, we look at this candle right here, this big old red one. Again, this is early March 2024 when Richard Hart did release the video montage saying that eHex is probably not going to be worth as much everywhere as PHEX is. And since then, yeah, price has broken down a little bit. But bad news for people if you're planning on trying to sell Hex anytime soon. Good news for people that have been trying to buy eHex, because prices are still pretty good, let me tell you. Alrighty, so right now we are at about 15 hundredths of a penny, or 0.15 pennies. So right now we are looking at prices that we really haven't seen ever, according to this data. However, I know that we don't have all the data here, which means we are missing some good stuff on the left side of the chart. So according to the chart, as it stands from the data, we technically are in, we did just finish up price discovery with a new all-time low here at about 0.12 pennies, or yeah, 0.12 cents. And then since then, we've had four good green candles recovering. But unfortunately, they are going to start to run into some resistance at about 0.2 of a penny, and then again at 27 hundredths of a penny as well. These are numbers that I pulled from recent numbers, and then also the 27 level comes from the way down when we bounced off it here in August of 2023, and again we touched on it in October of 2023. Since then, we broke down pretty heavily during the whole Great March debacle, and we kind of blew right past it. We had one retest here on the 13th, 14th, and 15th before we broke right back down below it. So right now, for eHex to recover, which by the way, this is the token that has the least amount of liquidity, which means it has the most ability to go either direction depending on what happens. But right now, there's two major hurdles to get past. First off is the 20 level, the next is the 27, and then after that, we're looking at about 1 cent. Or 1.2 cents, because that is where we see a lot of resistance that we've kept bumping back into before we broke down in March.
And that's where the Bank X people have their limit orders and stuff too. So there's that wall that's right there. We're gonna have to eat right through.
What was
it's 0.007 to 0.014.
0.007.
To double in that.
Pepperidge Farm remembers.
That's the
Whoa.
wall.
I just learned right now how you can set a line at an exact number. Holy shit. I was today years old, boys and girls.
There you go, Will.
I've always like scrolled in like infinitely until it's like move it up just a little bit or a little bit down. Man, wow. I feel like I've learned something today.
That's why we're here, dude. That's why we're
Yes.
See, here's the thing about this wall, right? It's, what is it, 6 million, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's 6 million in liquidity that ultimately is just going to automatically dump as soon as anybody gets to that point, right? Now, technically speaking, there's a single whale that could literally just go in and dump it all and cause a heck of a lot of slippage for the Bank X people. And if that were to happen, it could end up just dropping to like 5.5 million instead. I mean, that's quite a bit saved there and quite a loss for them, which would be hilarious if it happened. But with that being said, that is still 6 million that needs to be eaten up before it's actually gone, and then it can actually pump.
That's true. We'll just have to double check that the sell wall is still there and those people haven't decided to do something else with their holdings. But you guys are not wrong. That is going to be a big point to get through on the way to 1 penny, to recovering that sweet 1.0. But until we get there, we do have some other levels that we're going to have to get through, including those first two that are the immediate ones.
Okie dokie.
All right, gang. Any final thoughts on TA?
I was about to ask, does this wrap up the technical analysis? Yes.
Sir.
Okay. Alrighty, well, let's go ahead and close this down. I know we've got a couple more chats that need some shouting out. Some new people have joined. My my favorite strip club connoisseur. Ladies and gentlemen, you already know what time it is. It's time for chat shoutouts, right? So I'm going to do it quickly because my favorite strip club connoisseur has joined us. We got Hexagon Lost in Asia, Semper Fi, fellow Marine. Good morning, D-Gens. I don't know what fucking time it is for you over there, broski, but I mean, it is 9:37 p.m. over here on the East Coast, well, or in Indiana. But good to see you, broski. Always glad to have you in the chats. I hope you're having a great time over there. Up next, we got Bright Light Crypto giving us the it looks like a money emoji. Is that what it is? A dude hold? Oh no, it's a waving. Okay, that's what it is. Well, hello, Mr. Bright Light Crypto. Good to see you. And then we got Large coming in with the like the smash button. You're absolutely fucking right. I love saying like that smash button. That's my little catchphrase I've decided to adopt for myself. So make sure for the folks at home who are watching us, whether you're watching us live or whether you're watching us on the replay, that you guys go ahead and like that smash button. And then we will move right on. Oh, hold up, Mrs. Producer. There is a new chat. Yi Page. Asia is 12 hours ahead. Thank you, Yi Page. I appreciate that. Asia's got a whole bunch of time zones in it, man. I don't even want to pretend like I know what's going on over there. There are some crazy motherfuckers. All right, so let's see. Checking my notes. We got another. Damn, we're at an hour 37 in, boys. This is pretty good. Mr. Jeff and Mr. Dace, do you guys have anything else that you want to talk about the Richard Hart OAH wallet? I'm going to check my notes really quick, but I'm going to toss it over to you guys to touch up on that again, and then I will take us down a different direction if we got nothing going on there.
I have a question if they don't have anything, Will.
Oh. Well, do either of you guys have anything?
I like questions better.
Perfect.
Yeah, I like questions.
Yeah, this one's for you, Dace. You can hop in as well. So we've talked a lot about the coins. We've talked about, the price point that's pretty low compared to where we expect it to be right now. Gives us buying opportunities. But, what type of capital, Jeff, would it take to come into the market to pump PulseX, just say the ecosystem 5x or 10x or 20x? What type of money would it take? Is it going to take a lot of money for us to see a 10x from these prices?
So no, it's honestly kind of funny how little it would take. So let's just use Richard's formula instead of doing the Uniswap formula, which is you got to take the square root of how much you want to increase the price by x's, to subtract it by 1, then multiply it by the liquidity pools.
That sounds like too much math.
Correct.
Give us the answer.
We'll just use Richard's formula. That's take half the bid side liquidity pool. So right here, PulseX liquidity is at I'm having trouble. 36 million. Half at 36, it's 17 and a half. I think if my math's right, or am I dumb? 37 and a half, right? Yeah, so 17.5. Let's call it 17.5, around there. So let's say you want 100x the price. So if you 10x the liquidity, you square whatever you increase the liquidity by. So if we 10x that, we 100x the price. So 17.5 million times 10, that's $175 million will give you 100x. And you're going to have people saying, oh, no, but the people will be selling. First off, if Richard pulls liquidity, then they're not going to be able to sell. And 2, people psychologically love chasing green candles. So honestly, you could have more than that coming in than just what he's putting in. So if you want to look at just pure numbers for the fun of it, you're looking at 175 million. Now, if you really want to be fun with it, let's 100x it. That's 1.75 billion. So,
and that's just PulseX.
Correct.
And a
So
billion.
175 million gives us a 10x.
No, 175 million gives you 100x. It gives you a 10x of liquidity, which squares that, which is 100x of price appreciation.
So that's 170 million for 100x, and let's assume nobody's selling, right? This is a thought exercise, right? This
And
is
assuming
not
nobody else is buying, right? It's just in a vacuum.
correct in a vacuum, which doesn't technically exist. But for scale, it's important to realize that all of the sacrifice money was traded for Ethereum. We have an Ethereum ETF that's going live July 2nd. And so if Ethereum goes up, the value that the sacrifice wallet holds in Ethereum goes up with it. And so hypothetically, if the entity that runs all the SAC money, if all of its value doubles and it's interested in bringing these numbers up, it's going to have plenty of funds with which to do so, a lot more than 170 million's worth. Put it that way.
Well, let's have it even more fun with it. Let's imagine that Richard is heavily involved in providing liquidity right now. And let's say he is providing half of so-called liquidity and he pulls half of that liquidity. So everything you've just done, you just cut it in half. Now, instead of 175 million to 100x, now you need 85 million.
Yep, that's right. Less than 90.
Correct. So if he cuts Pulse Chain's liquidity in half, so half of 40, 20, and then he cuts it in half the bid side pool, that's only $10 million. If he has 1.75 billion, that's over a 10,000x in the ecosystem.
Keep giving me that hopium, man. You know, I want to point something out. A lot of people were angry at Richard for buying the top of Ethereum, right? What if he did that to make it look like he really didn't know what he was doing or that he was screwing up? And then he bought the bottom of Ethereum with his own private money, with a brand new wallet that none of us would have seen. And now he's just kind of doing things on that one.
I've had the same thought. Now, maybe there was an alternative reason why he bought it where it was. Maybe he did FOMO in. Maybe it was because of the so-called MakerDAO voting rights that happened the day after that he got all the ETH and he staked it all for the voting rights for the majority DAO governance. There's a bunch of different things. Maybe he's not going to use the sacrifice funds at all. Maybe Richard has 500,000 ETH and he's going to use all that. And like, we don't know that the ETH doesn't have to come from the sacrifice wallet. He might just keep that as reserve. Yeah, like you're saying, Nate, there might be other wallets that we have no idea. He might have shorted it. He might have thought, okay, you know what, I could shake some people out. I could short it. I think it's go down. There's all kind of different possibilities, but that's 100% pure speculation.
That's right. So we can speculate lots of different things about Richard's other private funds and his other interests, but we know that the sacrifice money, the money set for Pulse Chain, it's there, it's in Ethereum. And if we see Ethereum, let's say double in price, now all of a sudden Richard has, or whoever is running that wallet, has serious firepower to pump our ecosystem for sure.
Correct. If ETH hits about 10K, Richard in the SAC wallet, you're looking at around $1.75 billion. And that's just crazy. And people are talking about volume. Volume means nothing for price appreciation. I was talking to somebody last night on Twitter saying, oh man, Solana's going to do so much better because of volume. And then I said, okay, well, let's do a thought experiment. He said, yeah, well, Solana's volume today is 121 times more than Pulse Chain. I said, okay, how much did Solana go up today? Well, the answer was 0.3%. And Pulse Chain, who did 121 times less volume, went up 3%, which just goes to show you that volume can be faked and volume has nothing to do with price appreciation.
It all has to do with liquidity.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's exactly what it is. It's ratioing the liquidity, 100%.
Yeah, and let's also keep in mind, look, we can't just sit here and expect and wait for Richard Hart to pump the ecosystem, right? We have to be out there onboarding people. We have to be out there bringing other people to understanding what this ecosystem is, why Pulse Chain's great, why Ethereum was forked in the first place, what makes it better, what's the benefit of building on this type of chain when, you know, maybe you could just build on ETH. And those are things that we need to bring to the people. It's us individually that are going to make or break this chain. Yes. Do we all expect the OA or whoever is using that wallet to buy coins because they've done it in the past and because they did it with Hex? Yes, we do. Of course, we assume that that's going to happen. We want it to happen, but we have to work hard and we have to, make our own destiny. We can't just assume that somebody else. I'm in crypto because I want to be self-sovereign. I want to be able to make my own decisions. I want to be able to make my own money. I want to be able to control it. So that means I have a responsibility to onboard people, to talk to people about Richard Hart, talk to you about Pulse Chain, and why I'm in it and why I'm here. And it's definitely for the tech. So not.
One of the things I'd like to kind of add on with that, Brandon, is one of the things I think we should do as a community, a Pulse Chain community, is start reaching out to Phantom people, because there's a lot of connections that Phantom and Pulse Chain have together. I mean, everybody loves yielding over here with fun little logos and stuff, right? With little themes going here and there, bright colors, all that going on, right? And those people over there are extremely techie, right? As it just so happens, we have a lot of techie people over here as well. I think if we started reaching out to them, there would definitely be a good blending there. So that right there is just something I think that we as a community should really truly be trying to do right now.
Lead the charge, man. Take the realm, take the helm, or take the whatever the heck.
Oh, trust me, I'm trying to find. The problem is those people are a little bit hard though. They don't have enough people who are actually out there, kind of like how we are right now, out into the ether here, onto the YouTubes and speaking all this stuff into existence, right? They're more of like, hey, let's just get down and start building something. And I understand that, we definitely need that as well. But, I think, like I said, it's just going to be a perfect blending if we could, get a hold of enough people over there.
Yeah, I know that Charlie and Miguel from time to time will interview Andre Cronje. I think is his name. Is that the Phantom guy, Andre Cronje, or am I thinking of a different? No, maybe. Damn it.
Andre is one of the main. I think he's the founder,
Okay.
if I remember correctly, or one of the main founders of Phantom itself. That he sort of disappeared for a little while and then came back, and all of a sudden Phantom started blowing up. And he came back with a new thing called Sonic, so that's about to take off. But
Gotta go fast.
Continue on with that. Sorry.
Excellent. No, I was just saying that I know that they do a lot of I don't know if cross pollination is the right word, but Charlie and Miguel, for the big shout out to Charlie and Miguel. For those of you guys who don't know who they are, go check out the Crypto Mindset course, and Dollar Cost Crypto and Cultivate Crypto are their respective YouTubes. They do a Moon Gang thing every Friday, and they teach some excellent courses for beginners to get into the cryptocurrency space. But one of the things that I remember from taking their course a few times is that they speak to the founders of different projects and stuff. And I could have swore that I remember them speaking with Andre or speaking with other developers on Phantom. I want to say that the grain or the harvest or something like that. I think that was on Phantom. I'm not entirely sure. But I know that there's a couple people out here that that do speak on the from the Phantom ecosystem. I don't know who they are or what they do, but that'd be kick ass, man, if there was some more like cross pollination and stuff.
Yeah, if there was more cross pollination. But see, now that was just something I wanted to call to action, right? But I mean, Dace, like you were talking about with the ETFs, right? ETH ETFs.
Yes, sir. Yeah, look, the ETH ETFs they're supposed to be going live and trading on I believe July 2nd. It's coming up quite soon. So that's going to be the next thing to watch on everybody's radar. We will most certainly be streaming about it in the Telegram as well. I imagine me and Agent J and maybe Will and whoever else can hop on. Please come join us on the Telegram and tune in July 2nd and get the latest news and updates on what's going on with the Ethereum ETF going live for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. For the folks at home, join our Telegram, and we'll go ahead and start wrapping up this show. But if everyone could point over to the little Telegram QR code, this is what you scan with your phone, or you take a picture of, or you do whatever to join the DGen Roundtable Telegram. Also, you could go up into your URL up at the top of your internet researching thing, whatever, whether you use Firefox, Chrome, Brave, Safari, whatever the heck. You go up in there and you type in bit.ly/degenerate roundtable. That will take you straight to the invite link that I have created. The old one no longer works. So it's, again, bit.ly/degenerate roundtable. There used to be an underscore. There is no longer an underscore. So if you go on in there, that'll take you to the invite code that will bring you straight on over to the DGen Roundtable Telegram group, where Dace has said before he conducts the Telegram calls. You can find us in the chats over there. We talk about cryptocurrency. We talk about money. We talk about getting fit and physically fit. We got a little meme sharing page, which is my personal favorite. That's where I spend most of my time. We got a history lesson section. And we also have a section where we talk about all of the wins that our community has been doing. So hop on over to our Telegram. That's my call to action to you guys listening live and listening on the replay, gang. We're going to go ahead and do a wrap up here. So we're going to go around the horn, and I want you guys to tell the folks at home what you have going on in the near future as far as like things you're working on, projects, things you're thinking about, things you're looking at buying or whatever. Just give the folks at home a quick little outro and where they can find you. We're going to go ahead and start off with my special guest here, Mr. Dace Northal. Where can the folks find you, and what do you got going on, my friend?
Surely. Yeah. Look, when I'm not in DGen Roundtable's Telegram, I'm also Dace Northal on Twitter. Follow me there. I'm tweeting and retweeting lots of similar subject matter. When I'm not doing those things, I try to, like you said, stay active. The meme page is a great spot to hang out. There's lots of different things that you can come learn at the DGen Roundtable, but crypto is certainly the biggest focus. And like I said, catch me there. It's great to be on with you guys. Thank you all so much for having me.
Excellent. Absolutely. Mr. Brendan, the Anonymous Bean, where can folks find you, and what do you have going on in the near future, amigo?
Yeah, find me at anonymous _bean on X, and a little too much Richard Hard talk today. And no, I'll be back here on Sunday. Just super excited. A lot of market news. We got the ETF launching. People in the Fed are saying we won't have it. We're not going to raise any interest rates this year. So that's something that we might be talking about here in the near future in upcoming shows. We also got the book club coming up Friday, which I won't be on because I don't know how to read. And
neither do any of us.
There's a lot of great things going on. So no, I'm really excited. Just like I said, getting over being sick and really just pounding back into the market because I've been away, sick, just been so much going on, and pay attention when I'm away, but not as in depth. So looking to make some DCAs into the market this week, hopefully. And looking for a new job. So got a lot going on in my personal life, but I am here to share my knowledge and my experience in the cryptocurrency sector and economics. So super excited about where we're going, and stay positive. I know it's very, very easy to get negative, but when you've been in crypto for as long as we have, it is much more even keeled. We don't have those highs. We don't have as lows. But man, I could be excited for some exits here in the future. So I'm just being patient and I'm waiting. So hope you're doing the same.
Glad to hear it. Mr. Zenith, where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future? And I'll make sure to plug book club at the very end.
Sounds good. Yeah, folks, you can find me at ZenithDI on Twitter and Instagram, or you can catch me in the Telegram chat. If you have any data or if you find any sources of information that would help update any of the stuff that we talked about today, like numbers, sources, instead of token inflation stuff, please at me. If you want clout, do it on Twitter. If you actually want to chat, do it in the Telegram. That's where I'll be. But other than that, yeah, you can catch me on book club, and that's all I got. All right, Jeff.
Man, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but yeah, mostly in the Telegram. My favorite Telegram, not just because I'm part of it, but that's where I spend the majority of my time. You can find me on Twitter, ApexX369. Besides that, working on some educational content for our followers that we've been putting together and working hard towards. But yeah, excited about the ETH ETF and basically a culmination of everything y'all said.
Hell yeah. Excellent. Mr. Nate McGettit, I'm going to toss it to you here in a second, but we've got one final chat that is from none other than Mr. Crypto Khalil. And Mrs. Producer, I'm not aware if you are back at the table. Okay, there we go. So Mr. Crypto Khalil is asking, is the guy that was telling me ink inflates the same way as BTC the other day here? Nate, I believe that this is directed at you. You guys were having a fun little moment there where y'all were kissing or whatever the heck. So
basically, what ended up happening there, Khalil, is that there are so many people saying so many things about it and who don't know that eventually you have to sit on, okay, I think this is what it's going to be. It makes the most logical sense. I was wrong. And you know what? Because that question came up again, we did a little bit of research. And if you go further back into the show, we actually got into it. So, hey, I was wrong. Bam. Now I know.
Excellent. Good stuff. Where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on in the near future?
So there's a lot of kind of behind the scene things that I'm doing right now. I don't know if I'm going to start backing away from the shows a little bit, and because not only is my work at the absolute top, the heat of of just being busy, but then also there's a lot of other things, including helping this guy out over here with some educational content, as well as some other things having to do with our channel in general. So I might not be on as many shows for a little bit here, simply because of that. I don't want to overwhelm myself too much. But other than that, I'm just continuing to improve, always learning more. And hey, this is crypto, baby. We're having tons of fun out here. Let's get those red candles, buy it up into the green candles. Know what I mean?
Excellent. Love to hear it, broski. Love to hear it. And also, I want to give one final shout out to Mr. Vets in Crypto, who is watching us on Twitter. Shout out to Vets in Crypto. Thanks for the book, Will. I sent him a book, the Brothers Two of Them cookbook, and it was not able to make it, so it got sent to my return address. And fortunately, my brother happened to be at the house, and then he happened to be like crossing paths with the general location, and so he was able to get the book to Mr. Vets in Crypto. So Vets in Crypto, we got you your Brothers Two of Them cookbook. For the folks at home who don't know, me and my brother Sam have created a fun little joke cookbook called the Brothers Two of Them cookbook. If you guys want a copy of it, it's only $10. You can message me on will.pl, or excuse me, not on. You can find my socials, and you can message me from any one of my socials that you like. That is spread out from the Pulse domain will.pls.fyi. That's where you can find all of my socials. It will link you to, it'll send you to my link tree that shows like all of the different projects that I'm in, whether it's the DGen Roundtable, whether it's my brother's podcast, whether it's some like the books or things that I've written, or some like blog post style things that I've created. You can find that all over there. Also, you can find Bad Idea t-shirts for sale over there. I don't make a fucking cent off of them. The company that creates them makes the money, but that's the stuff that I wear. Anyways, you can find all that stuff over at will.pls.fyi. And if you want a copy of this fantastic Brothers Two of Them cookbook, then just message me on any of my social medias. I use Telegram the most, so I will probably get back to you the fastest on the Telegram. Make sure you guys join our Telegram. As we had said before several times, the QR code is located right down there. And with that, Mrs. Producer, oh shoot, and book club. I'm running book club this Friday. It's going to be Sci-Vive Chapter 10. This is going to be the final Sci-Vive book club that we're doing, at least for now. Maybe we'll have Zenith tear some hair out and cover Sci-Vive again later. Not really, but it's been a blast. I love learning about all the stuff that Richard Hart talks about. All contradictions aside, all silliness in those books aside, like there's a lot of fantastic good stuff in there, a lot of good advice for folks who don't know a lot about like well-roundedness in life. I highly recommend folks don't actually read Sci-Vive because the PDF is disgusting. I highly suggest you go over to either Hex the Crypto Space or a Wild SJ's YouTube channel and go listen to Sci-Vive. They both do a fantastic job reading that book out. And yeah, so that's what we're covering on book club this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, you guys can also catch us here, the DGen Roundtable. We are live every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see you guys back here. And Mrs. Producer, go ahead and get that trigger finger ready because it's about damn time to end the show. I want to remind all the folks at home, that we greatly appreciate everything that you guys do, spending your time here with us, because we know time, as Agent J says, is your most valuable asset. And with that, I want to remind you guys all to remember to degen responsibly.